Welcome back. As we all said that earlier, we would be talking at our first segment, talking about St. Catherine, which is considered now by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. And of course, it's in South Sinai, the South Sinai Governorate of Egypt, and it is one of the most beautiful destinations you could visit. And of course, when we talk about St. Catherine, we could talk about a destination that could be not, if you did not visit it before, then you should be learning a lot and reading a lot about it and its history. It is a destination with history that is most significantly. We're going to talk more in detail about St. Catherine with our distinguished guest. He's with us live here in the studio, Mr. Ihab Wagdy. He is a tourism expert and a guide. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning
Wagdy.
to you.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing?
Fine, thank
Great.
you so much. It's a real pleasure having you here. And let's talk
Pleasure's
about, thank you so much, very long history of the area as a whole. It has a long history to go. When we talk about St. Catherine, it's not only a beautiful destination with a very remarkable weather. Sometimes it snows and sometimes the weather is nice, and the mountains and the hiking and the camping and the religious background also.
Indeed.
And the monastery is also there. But let us talk about the history. Give us a glimpse about the history of the area.
With great pleasure, but if I may start with geography, because actually to talk about history, we need to talk about geography first. Where is Sinai Peninsula? Actually, if we look at it's taking this triangle shape, the tip towards the Red Sea, while the white part overlooking the Mediterranean. We're talking about the crossroad of trading in the ancient times. It got a very special strategic site. It's the link between Asia and Africa, overlooking Europe, controlling the most important two seas in the ancient times, and the nature of the land, because it controls also the nature of the people, as a matter of fact. The northern part, where we have the valleys, I'm talking starting from Rafah, El Arish, until we reach the Suez Canal, and we'll find that that's the road that the Holy Family used to travel from Bethlehem, Jerusalem, to Egypt and back. We'll find that this is the same way where most of those who conquered Egypt or invaded Egypt, they came via that road. Sinai, in general, it was the open gate of Egypt, that most of those who conquered Egypt, they came via Sinai. At the same time, when we come to the name itself, because we have two theories, actually. The first one, it says that it was named Sinai because of the mountains, that they look like the tooth, the sin. So that's why it became Sinai, tooth. The other theory says, no, it's the goddess of the moon, Sinai, and that's why it was called Sinai. The southern part, where the monastery is located, that's, South Sinai Governorate. That's the area where we will find mountains. And by the way, this is the only area in Egypt where we have real mountains, because when we say a mountain, it's got to be above 3,000 feet or 1,000 meters. And so the only area where we have mountains, that's in Sinai. And when we come to the importance of the place, starting from the Pharaonic time, earlier than the religions. I'm talking about before Moses, the prophet, before Jesus, before Muhammad, alayhim salatu wasalam, all of them. Before this date, we'll find that Sinai was very important for the ancient Egyptians. That's where he was bringing the turquoise from. We'll find that there was a goddess, mainly the protector of the turquoise, and we'll find the goddess Hathor worshipped also over there. Then we will move to the time when the sons of Israel moved to Egypt via this area, and that was also their way back when Moses led them for the Exodus. In between this era, we'll find that Moses, that's the same area where he met Jethro's daughters, for example, when he helped them to, when they were by the well, waiting for their turn to, when they needed the real help. Then, according to the Bible, he lived there for 40 years in Midian's land, where they had a very important god, Aliyun, or the Eliyun. The Eliyun, the word in Arabic, it's the Aliyun, and it is believed that Jethro was, according to the Bible, was the high priest over there. Then we will come to a major point with the burning bush when Moses did talk to God. So we are talking about a very important area in the history of humanity, in the history of religions too. That's the area where God did talk. That's the area where God appeared himself and did talk to Moses. Then afterwards, when he got the tablets of law on their way out of Egypt, I mean during the Exodus, when Moses, the prophet, went up the mountain to get the tablets of law. Afterwards, the area started to be known for the believers of the new religion that started to appear in Egypt. I'm talking about Christianity. Christianity appeared in Egypt on the 1st century AD, when St. Mark brought Christianity to Egypt, to Alexandria in particular, where the Romans actually tortured him. That's where they dragged him in the streets of Alexandria, cutting his hands and his head. But afterwards, that's why, by the way, Egypt was one of the first countries in the world to follow Christianity, starting from the 1st century AD. Afterwards, the believers of the new religion started to escape from the Romans, to avoid their persecution at that time. The capital of Egypt at that time was Alexandria. Therefore, we'll find that the early Christians, they were trying to, or the early believers, they tried to escape to the desert or further to the south of Egypt. That's why Egypt was the first country in the world in having monasteries and monks. Then the area started
So that they can resort to?
Well, as a matter of fact, yes, because that's the area, because it was a respected religious area for the early believers. That's where God talked. That's where the burning bush was. So that's why they started to gather in this area. The turning point, it was on the 4th century AD, when Emperor Constantine allowed Christianity, or recognized Christianity to be a religion in the Roman Empire. And this is, of course, under the influence of his mother, Saint Helena, whom she was recognized in Europe even to be one of the saints. Afterwards, the Dorothea, who became later on known as Catherine, followed the new religion. She believed in Christianity, and she was from an aristocratic family, as a matter of fact. So that's, she studied philosophy, she studied medicine, she studied physics, she studied music, she studied art, philosophy. So after some time, when she converted and she became Christian. They tried with her. They brought for her several teachers trying and philosophers trying to convince her to return back to paganism as this was the major religion, but she refused. Actually, it was the other way around. She made some of the teachers or the philosophers who came to convert her back to paganism, she made them believing in Christianity. The other way around, totally. But after her death, it was let's say traditionally known that her body was taken by the angels to the top of the mountain that was named after her later on, St. Catherine Mountain. Then later on, some of the monks, they saw that dream that the body is up there, so they went up to the mountain. They brought the body after her death, and they brought it down. The monastery itself, as a monastery, they started building it in the 6th century AD. And that's when the church and the surrounding walls were built to be a monastery. The amazing thing that you will find that this monastery all over the history was well respected by even the enemies when they fight each other. I mean, you will find the Arabs did respect, and actually the prophet of the Muslims, according to the copy of the letter that it's there in the monastery, the protection letter that was given by Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam for protection, and later on 641 AD when the Arabs conquered Egypt, the monks showed them that letter. They got it from the prophet himself when they sent a delegation to El Medina to receive this letter. Then even afterwards they were protected by the Crusaders, by Napoleon. They had some time, as they mentioned, suffering under the Mamluks. Then the Turks or the Ottomans afterwards also helped them or protected them.
Let us talk about St. Catherine, the background of St. Catherine and the importance of her history according to visitors who come over to visit the place.
Right. To start with, we have also to mention that St. Catherine, she was recognized as a saint in Europe. Therefore, there were a lot of pilgrimages coming to that area, to Sinai. We're talking about a very unique area. A very unique area.
Exactly.
Where you will find the mountains, then suddenly down there you will find the monastery with the monks who cultivated some of the lands, who are protected by Sinai people, those whom they are known as Jabaliya or the Jabalaya, who are living around the monastery, and they are serving them or helping them all over the history. As a matter of fact, that some were saying that they have their own features, not like the rest of the Bedouins in Sinai. They have a fair hair because they were those who came originally from Constantinople and around to protect the monastery. We're talking about an area where God appeared. That's the only part on earth where God revealed himself for a human.
Let's also elaborate over that part.
Indeed, because if you talk to a Jewish or a Christian or a Muslim, three of them, they believe in Moses. Three of them, they believe in the tablets of law that he received from God. Three of them recognize the area, even in the Quran, the holy book of the Muslims, اخلع نعليك إنك بالوادي المقدس طوى. And that they're talking there about the area. When we talk about the area where the followers of Moses were lost for 40 years, it is very close to that area, the Valley of the Tia, where they were lost for 40 years. So if you imagine, and by the way, some of the Muslims, and they are quite few, I have to repeat that they are quite few, they believe that Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, on his way to the heaven, I'm talking about the Isra, that he passed from the area. So when you find that the major prophets, it's the land of prophets that we all believe in, Abraham, Jacob, sons of Jacob or sons of Israel, Moses, Jesus Christ, all of them, Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, all of them, they passed from this area.
This gives significance of its importance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why some time ago, President Sadat, he wanted to make this area a very special area, a recognized area for the three religions. And as far as I know, that there is another project that's going on nowadays, trying to reveal this project again for the three major religions. When we come to Christianity, I hope that people would get this point, that we are talking about the first land that Jesus Christ touched when he started to talk. It was Egypt. When Moses did talk to God, it was Egypt. When Abraham was seeking for protection, it was Egypt. When Joseph was protected, he was protected in Egypt. Moses himself, he was protected by in Egypt, although he was not sent to the Egyptians, he was sent to the Hebrews in Egypt, and he was protected by his enemy later on. Why I want to say that we'll find that most of the prophets we heard of, they came to Egypt, and they came for one of two reasons, either asking for protection or for studying. Concerning the area itself, yes, it's a very special area that most of the stories, the biblical stories we know about the Exodus, it happened in that area where the golden calf, it was there. Also, by the way, there is a natural formation of rock right over there. The locals, they have a rumor, because it's taking the shape of a calf, carved in the stone, naturally, as a matter of fact. But the rumors over there, it says that this was the golden calf. That's the area where Moses talked to his people. That's the area where they were lost for 40 years. That's the area where he did talk to God. That's the area where he met Jethro's daughters. That's the area where Dorothea, who became Saint Catherine, afterwards, where she was buried over there. And that's why I guess it became a sacred area for all the religions and all over the history. All over the history. And by the way, there in the monastery, the library of the monastery, it's very important.
Let's talk about the monastery.
Yes, the monastery itself, 6th century AD, when the monastery as a monastery was built, and it got the mosaic church. Actually, that's the most important one there, because that's where we can see the transfiguration of Jesus Christ. Actually, on the ceiling, there is a wonderful scenery of Jesus Christ, Moses, Elijah next to him, and some of the apostles down by his feet. There where we have the chapel behind that church. I consider myself one of the lucky ones, actually, because I had the honor to go inside this chapel. It's not open for visitors in general, but
talk to us about the chapel and the beauty inside.
Actually, that's the area where we have to take off our shoes when you go down, because that's where the hanging bush really starts from. I know people, they see it from on the other side of the corridor, but that's really where it starts from, or where it's growing up from, and that's the area, or that's the place where God did talk to Moses. Usually there would be one of the priests or two will be sitting down there. This chapel is from the left-hand side behind the church. That's how you reach it, and it's actually below the church a little bit. We have to go down. The library, what I want to say about it, it's the second one after the one in the Vatican, in the manuscripts and the books. It got 3,000 manuscripts, more than 5,000 books. 2/3 of them are in Greek. The rest, the 1/3, are in other languages. It is very important also to mention that the church and the monastery, they are Greek Orthodox.
Right. On that note, of course, Mr. Ihab Wagdy, you are a tourism expert and a guide. We'd like to thank you so much.
You're more than
and
welcome.
You have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you so much. It's our pleasure. And I guess we're going to go to a short break and we'll come to continue the breakfast show, so stay with us.